Baba knows the way. Joseph Baba Ifa. Baba knows the way. We follow the signs. He walks with the Orisha through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients. He honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come Baba from. Knows the way. Born in the land where the spirits rise. Joseph Baba, son and ancestral sky. Baba knows the way. We follow the signs. He walks with the Orisha through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients. He honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come Baba knows the way. He heard the voice of Oruka, stepped in the rhythm, answering all. He studied the Odu, each sacred word. He speaks what our inner spirit has heard, guiding the lost, the seeker, the soul. Through Ifa's truth, we all become whole. Holy Nick, baby, my destiny lifts me. Iwapele loje, Orumila Modupe. Baba Joseph showed the path today. Baba knows.
Let's go.
Alrighty then, man. What's going on?
All right, so I messed up a little bit. It was looping.
Oh, we are live. Man.
We are live though, but hey, that's live TV.
That's live TV,
Joseph,
man.
what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Just enjoying the vibes. How we doing? Our Roots podcast. We are live, 6 p.m. What's up to my wife and my kids? Hey, Loli. What's going on?
Man, we got a brand new song out. Hopefully you guys got a chance to hear just a little bit of it.
Exciting stuff. Definitely a good jam.
Yeah. Well, we made that a few months ago, and you guys will hear it. I'll play at the end. I'll play the entirety of it just so you guys can hear it.
Nice.
It was looping for a little bit because I had my window open for YouTube, so it played.
I tell you, man.
It played the song back over again. So my fault.
When you were behind the motherboard, yeah. Well, exciting stuff. Definitely love going live with everybody. You know, we're getting closer to 150,000 subscribers every day.
Bro, wow.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the plaque is in the position it's supposed to be, but
yeah, there it is. Let's get the camera angle so people can look at it. There it is. Side
sure,
view.
Man. There she is, you know, looking good. Got the new polo on. Shout out to the wife.
Yeah, I love it.
But wanted to go over a product today that has really grabbed my attention, and it's this one right here. It's Irise Oti, right?
Ooh.
This was gifted to us by the people from this organization. I know their imprint is also spiritualgangsta.store.
I put the details in the description, guys. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was they sent it to us with the best of faith. And to be frank with you, really fabulous product, man. Whether you're trying to offer to your Orishas or actually trying to have a drink, it's a gin. Really nice over the rocks with a little bit of lemon. You know, and great to work with as well, where other, you know, spirits in the past have been very strong, you know, like 151s and stuff like this. Like this one is like a real nice mix of intensity but smoothness at the same time. So I really love the name as well because this is how the verse goes. Irise oti laye, irise oti nire bobo, oromila ibareo, ifai bare, eleri pingi bareo, ibikeji edumare ibare, kini fa obani se, kiolo dumare obani se, won't say fa kuko bani se. So irise oti laye, irise oti nire bobo, which means Irise, the mist descends, or I want to work with you, that's why I'm looking with you, and or looking at you, and from it, all of the blessings will come. So, you know, we always try to support Ifa people, our people, and I really hope that this could be the beginning of a really nice relationship, but regardless of which, you know, congratulations, guys. If you're interested in supporting a spirits company with real Ifan Orisha connotations and connections, definitely check these guys out. Great product and one that we're planning on utilizing. So
it's in the description of the video, guys. That's
congratulations.
So
I'm not gonna drink any at the moment because I got to drive, but I'll probably hit it up. As you can see, we've gone through a little bit of it. I've been having a good time. Me and wifey have had a couple date nights recently, so it's very nice.
Yeah, and so got a little bit of a dilemma, and I want people in the audience to judge here, right? All right, so normally when we have our live shows, we have the super chat feature, right? Which is we're still going to have here, but I got a couple of new sound effects, right? So we're going to have to decide what we want to do. Now with the new intro, I have the Baba Knows the Way sound effect.
Baba knows the way.
Right, so we're going to use that one, or we can use the traditional harp, or we can use the DJ air horn. So based off of, I guess the amount we get,
I hope Baba Knows the Way wins.
Yeah,
that's my vote. If I count it all,
Baba knows the way.
So again, guys, also super chats will get sent direct to the top. I know we just started the stream and we've already had a couple of them already, but we had to get some of the pleasantries and introductions out of the way.
Of course.
So the very, very first one, which I'm going to use,
Baba knows the way.
All right.
Bumblebee Polo Go Crazy.
Oh my gosh, $2 just for wearing the shirt, man.
Yeah.
You make me blush. Thank you, Leoardo.
Yeah, and we got another one from
Baba knows
Stacey.
the way.
Sang it. All right, I need to start
Sang
singing
it.
more, man. It's like the guy in the corner.
No, I think everybody loves your voice, man. So
Oh man.
yeah, people say they
Humble me.
Baba knows the way.
Oh man, that might be a shirt in itself, man.
I think so too.
Right.
Himplore says air horn. Okay,
Air horn. Okay, respect. He's an OG.
All right, we got okay.
Baba Benga.
All right. There's so many people here in the chat. So guys, just
Alafia.
make sure to say hi. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them now, so we can go ahead and take care of that. Yeah, let me see if I see any questions before that. Here we go. This is from Joseph Pachico.
Awesome. Hello, brother. I did my Ite 1 year ago. Congratulations. And Isheshe, beautiful ceremony. But want to start practicing Ifa Criollo. Is that possible? Absolutely. So you are a Babalawo. You have been initiated as such, and you have license to practice whichever form of Ifa you choose at that moment, as long as you have studied and prepared yourself for it. There will be some mitigating factors as far as ceremonially, but that's ultimately to be discussed with the establishment that you're interested in moving forward with.
All right. Guess what?
Baba knows the way.
Sang it.
All right, this is from Gilly 84.
All right.
Boom.
Amachado Dua, what can you tell me about Otrupon Sa? Oh my God, $20.
Yeah,
wow,
man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Otrupon Sa. I know this will do well because this is the third Ifa I ever did. The third gentleman I ever did Ifa to, Ronnie, came with Otrupon Sa. I recommend looking at his episode as well. It was pretty epic. Blessings to him. Otrupon Sa. I will say that, it speaks heavily of Orisha initiation, but if you're in the Lukumi tradition, unfortunately, there aren't enough like-minded and open-minded people at the moment to make that happen for Odua. But definitely, I would say, wash Obadala, receive your Oshanla icon or Obadala icon, along with, it depends. If you have the capabilities of doing Ifa, I would with Otrupon Sa. I don't see the need to interrupt that or stall that. I would wash Obadala, definitely receive Odudua in any of its various forms, but definitely the Fa one. And then just work towards your Ite Fa if that's your ultimate goal. If you are trying to stay in Orisha, it's going to be difficult because they're going to try and crown Obadala to you, which we're not a proponent of. It's not that it's not legitimate, but it's not the best. Isheshe is always an option, which we don't want to see you go if you're in Lukumi. But Otrupon Sa speaks heavily of the effects of Orisha initiation, because in that sign, Orumila, through Orisha initiation, was able to save his life. The Orisha Inle there, or Erinle and Abada, as well as Logun Ede, are huge. Now, mind you, if you're going to do Ifa, all of that can come afterwards. But those are very, very big deities there. Otrupon Sa, Olokun, is huge as well. That's the Ifa of the whale. When the whale first started becoming hunted because he was arrogant or he wasn't discreet. So the whale had this bad habit of taunting the whale hunters. That's the Ifa of the Eskimos. And, they would always be one step behind him. So he went for divination along with the whale hunters. And Otrupon was revealed for both, where the whale was told to perform sacrifice to not die a premature death, which he didn't do because he thought he was so big he didn't need any help. And the hunters were told to perform sacrifice to never go hungry again, which they did. So the whale, actually, based on Eshu punishing him for not performing a bow, Eshu opened a hole in his head, thus generating lungs and things like that, where he had to go up to the surface to be able to breathe. And at that point, the hunters had done a bow with various things to create the harpoon, which they shot at the whale, dragged him on, and then, ate him, which they still do in the Pacific till this day. So that Odu says, if you're going to live the whale, be the positive aspect of the whale. Lots of procreation, lots of happiness, relationships, mobility. But in the negative, you have to be very discreet and avoid being arrogant or loud, because it causes people to not only become disgruntled with you, but possibly aggressive, even physically. But Otrupon Sa it's not a bad Odu. It's the Odu of the Freemasons, the Awakwas, the secret societies. You pretty much have a clear path there. The most important thing, because that Odu says nothing under the sky will be unknown forever. So there can't be secrets between you and your elders. You have to be honest about the type of person you are, who you are, get to know people, and you should be all right. If you have a follow-up question, please let us know. We appreciate the support.
All right.
Oh, man, here we go. It started.
Boom! $10.
Oh, my gosh, thank you. My real question now, what's your opinion on a Criollo Babalao receiving Ipanadu and an Isheshe Awo receiving Kwanadu? So here's the thing. If someone was initiated Criollo Ifa, let's say that after that they want to practice Isheshe, they still have to receive Kwanadu. And I can't say why. But an Isheshe Babalao has no reason to receive Kwanadu. But a Criollo Babalao can receive their Ipana Odu, no problem. Depending on certain things. I wish, based on, your super chat, I could go a little further. But I make myself available, once we kind of check your credentials and whatnot, if you want to have a further conversation, privately, to kind of go over some Ifa themes, because I can't go over too much here. But there's no reason for an Isheshe Babalao to receive Kwanadu. But always, when someone initiates Ifa Criollo, they need Kwanadu, and they can receive Ipana Odu as well. Yeah.
All right. Got another one.
Okay.
From Shannon Torres.
Hello, what can you tell me about Ofumbara for the child of Elegua? Ofumbara is also Ofun Susu. This Odu, ironically, is the Odu of the keys, right? There's an ebo there that's done with keys to open things up. So, when we look at Elegua is the Orisha of the doors, the pathways, the paths, opportunities, temptation. So I would say that's his manifestation in that Odu. I would get with your elders and perform the ebo of the keys so you can have that progress. It speaks of the princess who lived in the castle behind the 7 doors. So I would say that the woman there specifically has to perform ebo and sacrifice to kind of open up the opportunities to have a stable relationship and stability within their home as well. But that's the Ifa of Kokoro, which are the keys in Yoruba.
All right, Darla wants to know, is that you on the record?
No, God, no. Oh, God, no.
It's like back in the day, I used to think all the professional wrestlers would sing their own theme songs.
Yeah, right?
Well, it's the big show.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, no I thought it was, too.
That's funny. But no, that is not Joseph Baba Ifa. It's a secret.
Yeah.
But here we go. All right.
How does one boost their spiritual immune system? So, definitely through study, first and foremost. Just Ori being educated correctly could help quite a bit. Ingesting certain akoshe and medicines and things like, things that are sacred ingredients and medicines from one's Odu. Performing a bowl is huge for maintaining spiritual immunity. I would say it's the only reason I'm still standing and my family is still well, is because of the Bopong Fa. Without it, you have no spiritual immune system. Working your spirituality, whether it be your Boeda, your Egungun, you know, having Iwapele, you know, focusing on Ori, living morally and ethically. I think all of those things go into spiritual immunity.
Okay, this one's weird.
Baba, what is Ifa's stance on abortion? Oh, man. The short answer is no. It's not an advocate for termination. But me being a human being and understanding that, you know, there's such a gray area when it comes to life, you know, I mean, it's on a case-by-case basis. Ifa is not a fan, though. But, you know, who am I to tell a woman what to do with their body? I will say that if it is going to occur, for the love of humanity and goodness, let it happen within the first trimester or first 8 weeks. I don't know, something as soon as possible. If it is going to happen for whatever reason, because it may be to save a woman's life. There could be, you know, circumstances there that are very traumatic that don't allow or facilitate that equation. But Ifa's short answer is no, but it understands. So I think that's the best way I could respond.
Okay, we got a $2 one, but
Thank you.
they didn't say anything. So if you have a question,
Well, thumbs up.
yeah. So, all right, this is from Darla.
Importance of misas. Definitely very important at the beginning of your spiritual career to kind of open up your spirituality and delve into that spiritual court, to see your ancestry, see your spiritual quadrant, how to interact with them so you can get on the routines and habits that are going to give you the best results with them. So in the beginning, they're very important. As you grow, they don't have as much of a crucial effect because ideally by then you'll be doing enough independent work where you don't have to do them as frequently or as much. But every now and again, a misa is great, you know. Once a year, you know, if you're a practicing medium, definitely.
Okay. They have a follow-up question.
Who is Ochosi's father? Great question. So in the Lukumi practice, it's known as Orisha Ode, right? But when you look at Isheshe literature and even some Lukumi literature, that title was only given to Bawaluaye in the Odu of Ogunamei, which is one of the Odus that plays a huge role in the manifestation of Ode. So there's even debates that Ochosi's father is San Lázaro or Bawaluaye in the Odu of Ogunamei, and that his mother is Yemaya. So, I mean, you know, that's the most streamlined answer.
Okay.
So yeah,
All
his
right,
his godfather was Inle and his Yubona was Osai.
All right, so the $2 super chat, they did have a question above, so it's the one that's
Okay.
highlighted there.
Gitana, Iboruboya, bendición. If you were crowned Ochum, Camino Lodi, should you have 10 or 5 items inside her sopera? Wasn't sure if I can say what goes inside. Hope this makes sense. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to respond on anything in the sopera. Yeah, you're more than welcome for another question, though.
Okay, no worries. All right, here we go.
Hello, Baba Joseph. Can you please tell us more information about Olofing? So, as far as Olofing, right, the title, which means governor, technically Olofing is Odudua. Because the only deity who really had that title was Odudua, as Olofing Aye, or Olofing Adimola, which means the governor of earth or the governor who receives large offerings, right? If you're talking about Olofing like what's in the room of Ifa or like Odu, I really can't get into that. So,
Okay. All right, here we go.
what is the importance of Kimbombo for Eshu? Well, really interesting because in the Odu of Ireteka, it was where the Babalao was supposed to give Eshu okras and he didn't, and Eshu destroyed his life. So that's in the Odu Ireteka. There's actually an Ebo for that. I would only recommend it if you are Ireteka. But it's a very good offering for Eshu. There's no reason it can't be in your routine.
Okay, here we go. This is from Colby.
Baba, can you touch on Ofun Irosun or Ofun Koso? And that Odu is why we hit Iking to make them talk. That's also in the Odu Ekun Meji, Ofun Meji, and Ofun Koso is where the Oluking Ifa was born, which means I hit Iking Ifa. In that Odu, Orumila was lazy. His mother was trying to motivate him. He wouldn't listen. And one day on accident, he hit her while he was having a nightmare. So he never forgave himself for that, and he cursed himself, saying, from this day forward, the same way I hit you on accident, my children will hit me on purpose. And that's why, to be able to perform King divination, the babalawo goes like this to the seeds. And we hit him, you know. So that's ofunkoso. So lots of respect to our parents and children, and lots of study, because it says the person's meant to study Ifa somehow. You know, the tribal markings were born there as well. The person's meant to be initiated somehow.
All right, here we go.
Can you touch on Ituru Irete for a son of Ea? That first word, I'm not sure if it was a typo. It might be Otura Irete, but I need the confirmation on that. Okay. So you're more than welcome to chime back in.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Iboru, why does Isheshe use brown when Lukumi uses yellow beads for the Ide Borula? Great question. So ultimately, the Ide represents life and death. And life and death for us sits within the oil palm, right, of Africa. So when there's life, the leaves are green, right? So that's why we both use green leaves. But when they die, they turn yellowish and then ultimately brown. That's why they use brown and we use yellow. But also in the land of Oshobo, it speaks of when Orumila and Oshun married. There's a pataki like this in the Odu Idia Mileke, which means Odi is supposed to use his beads, ironically, where in Oshobo, Ochung and Orula got married, and that's why Orula used a yellow bead in commemoration of his wife Ochung, and that's why there's some paths of Ochung that use a green bead as well. So, being that Lukumi is very Oshobo descendant, apart from Oyo, Benin, Ibadan, Ekiti, you know, that's why you see those concepts.
Okay. This is from Jolu.
I'm a child of Yemaya and have Ogunda Vede. What advice do you have? And that sign is actually where mothers first started rocking their children. There's another Odu known as Babao Di Mei that speaks of it, but in that sign, Yemaya's son would have nightmares, and he would be attacked by Egungs at night, and he would be terrified, and he would go screaming, and Yemaya would come in and pick him up and rock him to bed. Whatever relationship you can generate with Yemaya, fantastic. If you're able to do Ifa, please do. If you don't want to, you know, definitely develop within Orisha. But Ogunda Vede says that for the gentleman that has all of the characteristics, it's one of the obligatory Odus, where the person should do Ifa, right? But then again, there's a big difference between what we should do and what we will. But Yemaya has to be a priority there, man. Yemaya really loved her children there. So make sure you're always on good terms with your Alabatori.
Okay, here we go.
Boruboya, if you crown Oshun or Ololodi, the items inside should be 5 or 10. Hope that makes sense.
They're talking to you. They were answering the other person's question.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Aborua Boye, what is a Misa in Isheshe? Is that a festival? So the Spiritist White Table Kardecian Misa does not exist in Isheshe. Isheshe was around far before it. You know, it was an adaptation that arrived in Cuba via the Spanish and Western Europeans who migrated there. And it assimilated, you know, the Creole system pretty seamlessly, because Spiritism adapts to everything, because everybody has a spirit and a spirituality. Now, in Isheshe, Spiritism is more like when they're attending to a gungung, or maybe an Egungun festival, like when people put on the masquerade and start coming into trance. Or even technically, whenever the Orisha comes down, is technically a Misa, because the Orishas are Egung as well. They're just highly elevated and deified spirits. But you, from what I understand, you won't see any white table processes over there. And the same Wetos wouldn't even show up anyway.
Oh, how come?
Huh?
How come?
Different regions, different. I mean, you know, the reason in Cuba, when you do a Misa and all these old Congo spirits and, you know, Lukumi spirits show up, is because that was the land they were on. We're all descendants of them. So they're going to show up for us because they're linked to us. But those ancestors don't have a link to Africa anymore like that. You know, there is a strand, but there's not that connection. Like, for example, like, a lot of times it's very rare when someone has an innately indigenous, like, African spirit in the New World, or being a descendant of the New World. Like, I mean, I'm not putting myself in another category, but I remember one time I was actually in a Botanica randomly, And there was a palero there, and he was like, "You have a muerto, but your muerto is not Cuban. He's actually from back home." And so he was pretty appalled by that. And as I've kind of grown within my my career and my spirituality and interacted with different people, it's actually pretty scarce where people actually have like still spiritualities present or presently in their court that are actually innately indigenously African. So, yeah,
Baba knows the way.
It's uncommon. Okay, there we go.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was done.
But this is just literally, he just says, hey.
Aboru, no question. Thank you for all you do, Baba. You're very kind. Thank you. Omilade, fabulous name.
And I just wanted to hit the button again. So
of course.
Yeah, so. All right, here we go. Going down the list.
Can you speak on my sign of Ifa, Irete Kutan?
Well, before you do that,
Baba knows the way.
Oh, someone just gifted 5 memberships.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yeah.
BRCCPA0415.
Yeah, all right. So back to the question there.
All right. Irete Gutang. Odu that's very dear to my heart for my father-in-law. May he rest in peace. Real gentleman. Irete Kedar, Irete Ogunda. It's one of the most important Odus in Ifa. We can't perform any process without it. You know, and that sign was where the Abore Orisa, or the Oriate, was born, the shell thrower. So it says that the person may have to arrive at Orisha if that's their desire. Depending on their characteristics, they can do Ifa or not. It's an Odu that speaks heavily of Egungun. The person has to be very careful with any types of narcotics or illicit dealings, because that's the Odu of the DEA. That's known as the exorcist of the herbs, or the Alawe Jade, where Irete Gutang was where Obatala and Odudua cursed the herbs because people were consuming cannabis and other substances a little too much out of moderation. So Orula had to step in and kind of be a mediator to be able to get the herbs restored and, you know, teach people moderation with them. So it's an Odu of moderation for sure. But Irete Gutang has to perform at Bo expeditiously because, unfortunately, it's an Odu of a shorter life, you know, if we don't spiritually align the way we ideally would. So, beautiful sign, though.
All right. Do you believe in curses to family bloodlines? This is
Absolutely.
This question is about that.
Absolutely. Tips for ancestor veneration with deep curses throughout the bloodline. Break the curse, and the way you break the curse is by breaking the behavior. So generational curses, from what I've been able to notice, are nothing more than unmitigated behaviors that are toxic and breed pain. If you don't want to spread pain, don't be a part of it, you know? That's what the Odu Obara says. Be the good in the world you want to see rather than the evil. So if you notice that your family lineage, for example, let's say, no, all the women in my family are cursed, none of them get married. Well, what is the common trait that all of these ladies have that keeps them from maintaining a husband, you know, or vice versa, or any of those other things? You have to analyze the commonality, and then you have to extinguish it if you want to be able to overcome. Don't spread the pain, you know. So
yeah. Okay. So Saint had that question earlier where you didn't know if it was a typo.
Okay.
So here's the verification there. The blue.
Otura Irete for a son of Oya. Sorry for the typo. Love your channel. Oh, awesome. I know Otura to you well. It's my sign backwards. Oya. I guess it's a stretch, but no, because they say that Oya was Esshu Lario's mother, right? And Esshu Lario was Esshu Laroy's son. So when you look at the Odu Otura to you, there's a pataki that says where Elegua would do brujeria to everybody because the mother of his children would keep his son away from him. But it was because he was a very bad witch doctor. And then the same or similar story is in my Odu of Irete Suka, where it says that Oya was chained up by her son and he left the cave. So for the child of Oya and Otura to you, the big thing is maintaining a relationship with your children and your family. You know, making sure that we maintain that nucleus. That's why Ifa really sees divorce as a taboo. We really have to try to work through things and overcome, because there's nothing more detrimental than a divided home. So be very careful with anything interrupting your relationship with your children. Never do anything that separates your children from, you know, their other parent, you know. And I mean, with Oturati you, regardless if you're a child of Oya or not, it depends on what your goals are, but you could do Ifa, you could be an Oriate, Olorisha, whatever you want. Whatever you want. I love that Odu very much. I studied it very much.
Okay, here we go.
Ogumbi, what is the difference between Iba Odu and your Ita Orumila and Ifa or initiation? The most important sign is your Odu of Itefa. Everything else kind of falls in line.
Okay.
Yeah. Baba, can you speak about the Odu or Diober or Dibere? Oh man, fabulous Odu. It's a very vast sign. I mean, this is Edibere ifai lubata o moire o mo wolo da funshango. Hawad he ho he ilua bata ilua he ho bobo abure helesio kang. Hawad he ho he olua bata. Where basically that's where the drum was constructed and Shango married Bata, right? It's an Odu where the person is meant to be presented in front of the drums of Bata, and that only happens when they initiate into Orisha. The Odu of Edibere is said to fill, his voice is said to fill the rooms of Ifa and Orisha. So, I know Oriates there that are really incredible, and I've heard about Olaus that are really incredible with that Odu. But it's an Odu of a lot of study and preparation. But Egungun there is huge as well. It's where the 7 ancestral cults of Egungun in Nigeria first manifested and came down from heaven. It's also where the 7 African powers were formed. But that's a whole convoluted story in itself. But it's really making reference to the 7 Egungun that came down from heaven when Earth and society started.
Okay, all right, next question.
Are there any Odus that talk about Ochung reading cards for divination? The Odu of Owani Chidi speaks of it. Owani Woche speaks of it as well. And Oyekun Meji was where Ochung would divine with a glass of water. So usually the card throwers, they have that there as well, so that can be interpreted. But the tarot is in Owani Chidi. And Owani Woche as well, it speaks of the gypsy spirits with the cards. So all of those, yeah.
Okay, all right, here we go.
What advice do you have for someone born under Oshemeji as a child of Oshun? If we're talking about Oshemeji and Ifa, it's a really incredible Odu for the child of Oshun. The only thing that the person has to be careful with is maintaining their spiritual immune system right, or hygiene or well-being, because in that sign, Oshun's child became sick of the blood, and they had to go running to find Yemaya to initiate the child in Orisha, and they say that Shango was the Oriate. Oshemeji says sangre que fluye por la vena, the blood that flows through the veins. So you have to be very careful with your circulatory system, cardiovascular system, and you have to be very careful with family there because they're usually the most treacherous.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Family. Ochemei says family is the first and worst enemy.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Baba knows the way.
Oh, man.
All right, there we go.
Thank you very much. Why do they say in Iwori Wosa, tiene que vivir arriba del ebo? And does it talk about having a strong relationship with Egun in this sign? Thank you. Iwori Wosaso is an Odu that's seen as being very ebocentric because of the amount of spiritual warfare that the person actually goes through. That's the Odu of the war between the rats and the cats. So the person, unfortunately, is always having conflict. To avoid having to do Ebo, we have to work on our character and make sure that, we're not trying to disgruntle people. But sometimes we're going to be unable to avoid it because some people are going to have a problem with this Odu, whether they do something or not. As far as Egungun, Iwori Wosaso is a very spiritual Odu. As such, it's like every other one. Everybody should have their Egungun ideally to be able to set up their ancestor altar coherently. But in that sign, the rat and the cat had like spiritual sensibilities where they could hear, see, and feel things, almost like 6 senses. But Iwori Wosaso is a great Odu.
All right, so I'm going to show you the whole page for a second.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so people love the Baba Knows the Way sounds.
Awesome, there we go.
Just letting you know, all right? They say your shirt's pretty fly.
Shout out to the wife.
All right, so let's go ahead and answer this one here, okay?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Greetings, Baba. I've felt called to Ifa for years and studied on my own. but I don't know any trusted practitioners in London. What would you recommend as my next step? Ironically, I initiated a woman from Great Britain, was it 3-4 months ago? She came over from the UK. She was from the northern part. It wasn't like London or anything like that. And if London is in the north, forgive me geographically, but she made it seem like it was far from the city. Ultimately, the Odu Osaure says, have good babalawos will travel. If Ifa is not something that has extended itself in a way where there's enough professionals out there for you to find out your destiny, it may involve you having to travel somewhere else. Obviously, Nigeria's semi-close by. The United States is an option. I know there's good babalaos, in Europe as well. We don't have any affiliations with anyone other than, who's part of the house. But we're an option. If you want to have a vacation to Orlando, you're more than welcome to come by. If you're interested in the process as far as the Hand of Ifa, schedule an Ifa coaching where we can talk about your future.
All right, here we go. Boom.
Aburu Aboye, what is Imule Abba? Oof. Well, I'm going to be frank with you. It's very rare that I'm stumped. Abba means elder. Imule, gosh, I want to say I've seen that word. It's a type of akoshe, or it could be a typo for imole, which makes reference to like irumole. But if you spelled it correctly, that's the only thing I could really deduce right there. I think I've seen imole as a type of medicine and things like that, but I've never had the need to stimulate it. So,
okay,
forgive me.
This is a typo here, so I'll put the correction after.
The Baba who owns Irese Oti is Osai. Could you put that back up?
See? Oh, yeah, that's the correction, so there.
I didn't. Okay. The Baba who owns Irise Oti is Oshemeji. Oh, okay. He's Oshemeji. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, well, shout out. Great product. It's an Odu of a lot of prosperity. Baba Oshemeji was one of the wealthiest Odus of all the Meis and ever. It's literally seen as the Olowo, or the owner of money. It's an Odu of a lot of commerce, so it makes sense why, things like this were in the person's path. Commerce and things like that are going to go extremely well. Babao Shemeji is a great sign. I mean, it's an Odu where the person has to transition gracefully through the stages of life, because Babao Shemeji was known as a warrior. Then when he got older, he wanted to continue fighting at war, but he couldn't, so he became a general. Then he became a fight trainer. Then he had to learn how to stay within his industry, but in ways that were graceful, because, we all saw Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul, right? He probably could have done a little bit more, but at the end of the day, it's a 50, 60-year-old man in a boxing ring. It's not becoming, per se. All respect to Mike, by the way.
I don't want to fight him.
But, that's the deadliest man on the planet still. But what it's saying is, now Mike, for example, or ex-boxers, they become promoters or they become trainers. So, it's always finding ways to be in the industry that you desire, but in a way that's gracious towards your age group. Shemeji speaks of transitioning gracefully through the stages of life. Ochung is huge there. It's the Odu of the black soap. So, all of those things. But it's an Odu of very gracious commerce. I mean, the person's going to be very successful as long as they align with Ifa and Oshun, so great stuff.
All right, here we go. Boom.
Baba, can you also talk about the relationship between Ounda and Olangrang in the Odu of Ounda Okana? If you're speaking about a specific Pataki, you'd have to refresh my memory. I haven't read Ounda Okana in quite some time. But I did see myself with that sign one year, and I know that it is an Odu of conflict, whether it's from a matrimonial standpoint, social standpoint, or even spiritual standpoint. It's an Odu of a lot of intense character. So the person has to know how to be political and know what's productive, and getting the last word or point isn't always going to help end the war. So with an Odu like Ounda Okana or Ounda Ko, and Ounda Ko literally means Ogun hit the knife against the wall, we have to do things that are productive, not just do things that make us feel good or satisfied. So if we can get over those kind of immature impulses, it's a beautiful Odu and usually leads to beautiful relationships and interactions.
Okay, all right.
Can you speak about the path of Esshu Laroy? Yeah. Esshu Laroy was actually born in my sign of Irete Suka and also in the Odu of Otura Tiu. I actually mentioned a story about it, or both of them, earlier with the person who is the child of Oya, who's Otura Irete. But Esshu Laroy, Laroy means Eshu arrived with title, or Eshu was the general. You know, it just makes reference. He's basically the king of Eshus. He's the most popular. He's the most reiterated, even more than Eshu Laguana or Eshu Laboni. He was all about fatherhood, really. Like, Eshu Laroye's greatest pain was not being around his children every day. So people with Eshu Laroye, the kids have to be a focus. The marriage has to be a focus. The home has to be a focus. It's a path that's very closely related to Oshun, as well as Shango and Oya. Obatala as well, you know. So, but, you know, other than that, he doesn't have any taboos. He basically accepts what all the other ones do. Avoid black palm oil.
All right.
Can you speak on Olokun? It can be crown direct. I'm sorry, I had to. But Olokun can be crown direct within the Lukumi tradition and the Isheshe tradition. Pick whichever one you prefer. It's being done now, just like various Orishas, like Nanaburuku, and we're starting to get all that back, so that's nice. But if you're a child of Olokun, crown it. I think that's the best thing I could say about Olokun. Very powerful Orisha. It affects everybody differently based on their Odu. You know, behave in front of it, have good habits with it, and, you know, receive it if it's an affiliated Orisha. It's a really lovely ceremony. Whether it's Isheshe or the Lukumi Orisha or Ifawa.
Baba knows the way.
Oh, man. Thank you, Iboru. What advice do you have for a child of Ogun in the sign of Ogun Mei? If you're able to do Ifa, please do Ifa. And that sign was where Ogun initiated as a Santero or Olorisha and as a Babalawo. That Odu says that the initiate of Ogun ideally either shouldn't be initiated into the traditions of Mayombe or shouldn't overstimulate them, depending on what their ultimate goals are. Like, for example, if you're a child of Ogun and you're interested in Mayombe and that Odu because you want to be a Tata and have a Munanso, hey, sure. But you have to make sure that you maneuver it correctly so that you don't have any negative repercussions, because just like with Ifa and with any of these traditions, overstimulating it the wrong way can be counterproductive and harmful. Ideally, the person should have a black dog of some sort, or a dog, because that's who defended Ogun there. The person should be armed responsibly. As an Odu of leadership, eat fish as much as you can. Make sure you take care of your dental health, because in that sign, Ogun's teeth fell out. It's where the dental surgeon and the surgeons and the autopsies were born. So, how many people are watching, Phil?
I have to look on my phone because I closed the window when the song was looping.
Sure, when it was doing the loop-de-loop.
Yeah, so hang on, I'll check.
Baba knows the way.
Oh, man. Why do they say in Iwori Wosa? Oh, we did that one.
We did this one already?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my fault. Here we go.
Baba, can you please speak on the sign of Obeade?
We got 106.
Oh, wow, that's lovely, guys. Thank you. Obeade. Obeirete. Obeidande. The most important thing in Obeade is two things. These are the secrets of the Odu. Not that they're secrets because the information is not out there, but people don't focus on it. After consecration, the Odu Obeade, the Ifa should only eat masculine animals, right? So only male animals. And secondly, the person in Obeate has to give a goat to a gungung to accomplish whatever they want in life. And it also speaks of the importance of offering a pig to Ifa as well. So those are the most important things to do in that Odu. There's actually an ebo where the pig is incorporated. But it has to be a male pig, right, based on the Odu. And definitely have somebody give the goat to a gungung.
Baba knows the way.
Here we go. What advice do you have for a son of Shango and Irete Ogunda? In the Odu of Irete Keda.
That's the one I meant to click.
Awesome. In the Odu of Irete Gutang was where Shango procreated with Iami Oshoronga. He actually had a child with one of the elders of the night. So they didn't see eye to eye and they divorced, and she actually took his daughter away from him. So Shango started a war with them, and it was getting really nasty. And Orumila saw Shango and said, hey, brother, you can't fight fire with fire and expect the temperature to go down. So divination was done. Irete Ogunda was revealed, where Ifa identified for one of the first times in history, Ipeshe, where they had to make offerings and appease the Iami rather than go to war with them. Now, Shango wasn't a fan of this at all. He said, I want to kill her. And he said, but that's not going to help your daughter. So Shango went and diplomatically put the Ipeshe. They jeered at him a little bit, but ultimately he was able to start interacting with his daughter again. And, frequently he had to perform Ipeshe to keep those energies at bay. But he was able to have a healthy relationship with his daughter and reconstruct his life. So,
All right.
I want some advice as a child of Ochosi and the Odu of Odisa. Okay. Ochosi and Odisa. Okay. So, that Odu, Odisa or Odiso, is the Odu of the hawk and the dove. In that Odu, the hawk was a thief. And he would go into Obatala's pigeon coop and eat his doves, right? And Obatala was getting really tired of it. So the hawk had went for divination. Odisa was revealed where he had to do a head rogation with 2 white doves, which is very key in this Odu. But rather than go and pay for the doves, he decided to go and steal them from Obatala's coop again. Well, Obatala was waiting, and there's various versions of the story, but somehow the hawk was able to make it out of there, with the doves or without. But from that day forward, he never stole again. The reason I mentioned that, you being a child of Ochosi, is the aspect of the birds. So the hawk is a spirit animal for Ochosi. So this Odu says we cannot indulge in any illegal behavior, stealing, not paying our debts. Like, all of that has to be done. Because if not, you could incur the wrath of those that surround you or the energies that be. The head rogation with the 2 white doves there is primordial. Like, the Odisa's Ori desperately needs that. So,
All right, here we go. The blue.
Boru, thank you again. Wait. Oh, the blue.
The blue, yeah.
Which blue? Oh, they're the same person. Sorry. Aboru Aboye, is there an Odu that relates a person who has the tools in regards to Ifa, but chooses to play or not take their studies serious? I asked because I had a female friend, and it was some glaring. So, if I'm understanding correctly, the question is, what happens when we don't study Ifa when we're supposed to? There's a saying that says, if you leave Ifa for a day, he'll leave you for a year. So, regardless of what your schedule is like, if you're a Babalawo, you have to study Ifa. If you are Olorisha, specifically Oriates, the brother and sister Abore Orisas, they have to study Orisha every day. When you are in the capacity of professional, practically, you have to be refining yourself consistently, because if not, situations can arise. So if you don't study, nothing positive could be expected.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Also, are you familiar with the path of Eshu known as Aala Bulma and his relationship to the Seiba tree? So I've heard of that Eshu path in the Odu Babao Turameji. He's the one that eats the turtles. As far as the correlation to the Seiba tree, I'm trying to recall if Otura Meji has a reference to it. What it could be making reference to, and I have it as Aala Bulma. It could be making reference to, because remember, Otura Meji or Alafia Meji was a lumberjack. So, the Seiba has never been a tree to commonly be cut down, but I'm sure at some case it fell and then they cut it and processed it. And Eshu was the one who helped the lumberjack become a millionaire. So that might be the correlation there. And it was that path of Eshu, because that was the Eshu that ate the $2 million turtles that we came out with the short about. So that's Otura Mei.
All right. Let's see. Boop.
Baba Joseph, can you speak on Oya's most interesting patakis Forgive me if my terminology isn't the best, as I am a
Initiate for now.
Oya's most interesting padakis. Oh, man. In my Odu was where Oya got chained up by her son and left in the cave. That's interesting. In Irete Suka. I'm trying to remember the Odu where Shango was sick and Oya grew a beard to go and win his wars for him. That's pretty interesting. You know, in the Odu of Ofunabe was where Oya was a buffalo or in a unicorn. So, spoken of there, she would transform into it back and forth. Oya, in my opinion, is the most complete female Orisha. She's a river deity, fire deity, lightning deity. She's the marketplace. She's the gates of the cemetery. You know, hunter, warrior. You know, she's kind of like Xena. You know, if anybody remembers that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Oya was a wild girl. You know, she also was the first woman to ever sacrifice an animal spiritually in Owani Chobe. And it hasn't been done, you know, ethically since, you know. So.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
What's more niche, Osai or Oro? Did I read that right? Niche?
Yes.
I'm not sure what context we're using niche in, but I will say that Osai is more streamlined than Oro. You know, Oro is much more intense, in my opinion. It's not that Osai can't be bombastic. It's just that Oro he's the most vicious Orisha, you know, apart from Eshu. So, you know, tread lightly, you know, with either of them.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Hold on. Boom.
Greetings, Baba. Any information on Owani Otura with Baba Luaye and Oya? So, in Owani Otura, or Owani Alakentu, it speaks of the royal family, right? Or the concept of being regal. And why the royal families in history by nature have been unstable. Whether it be from a cellular standpoint, biologically, mentally. You know, this is the Odu as well that speaks of the royal incest. To be able to preserve the royal bloodline. As far as Baba Luaye and Oya, I can't imagine too much in Owani Elegibo, but it does speak of the crazy prince and princess where they lost their minds over each other. So it's an Odu where, you know, you have to be careful with obsessions, OCD, making sure we don't overindulge, ruminations or intrusive thoughts, you know, and making sure that we spiritually align so the spiritualities that are causing this don't, you know, have an effect on us. Speaking of Baba Luaye, that's actually the Odu of the bubonic plague, the Black Plague. And Baba Luaye has everything to do with epidemics, and Oya has to do with the cemetery. So, you know, that's what I could deduce.
Okay. Let's see here. People love your shirt. They're still commenting on your shirt.
I mean, yeah, man. Wifey did a great job, man. I'm trying to get one of these in every color, you know?
I told you I want one.
I got you, dog.
Yeah.
Can you speak about Okana Ogunda? Okana Ogunda is also Okana Kakwing or also Okangrang Elegung. That's one of the first Odus where people came into trance with Egung. It's also one of the verses used to consecrate Egungun. The person needs their Egungun desperately to spiritually stabilize.
Okay. All right. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we're already over an hour, so. All right, guys, about 10 minutes left, so if you have any questions and you want them to be rushed to the top, or
quick.
if you just want to hear.
knows the way.
Wow, it's 6:53 already. That's wild.
Yeah, so go ahead and drop those super chats. So we still got some left, not super chats, but we still got some comments. We got plenty. So if you want your comment to go to the top, go ahead. And also, if you haven't yet, you can join our membership program.
Get in there, guys.
We offer more. I mean, you just went live yesterday just for members only, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
With all the benefits it has for classes and merch. If you like this shirt or anything like that, the membership plan is the way to go.
Yeah, and the VIPs can see my face.
Oh, yeah. That's really what they're paying for.
I know, right? Yeah. All right. Here we guys go. We got from J. Tyler Creations.
Awesome. Is Mano Ea an initiation different? Well, depends how you define each. Mano Ea or Hand of Ifa is an initiation, but it does not make you a priest. it gives you the rank of Isefa or Ikofa or Wofakang, depending on gender. If you want to become Babalawo, you have to go through Itefa or Itelodu. And at that point, you're Babalawo. Or you might want to go through Idosu, which is to make you Olorisha. So Hand of Ifa is an initiation. And after you go through Hand of Ifa, you are not an Aleyu. You are a part of a spiritual house. So, kind of.
Baba knows the way.
All right.
All right, so $10.
Thank you.
No question though, but read
thank you very
Alex
much.
is right under that though.
Rising Phoenix 53. All right, this is from Alex. Hello, Baba. Oh,
Yeah.
well. Hello, Baba. Can you speak about Irete Obara, please? Irete Obara is also known as Irete Oba or Irete Oba Bieye. This is actually the Odu of one of my teachers, or Baba Ifaz, Babarito, God bless him. Irete Oba is the king of birds. Irete Oba Bieye speaks of when Ochosi saved the forest, right? He would tend to the animals and things like that, and you know, he actually was the one who received the message that the forest was going to be burned down, but he didn't realize it was like the turn of man, where they were going to start cutting down the forest to develop land. So he was able to escape with them, but you know, they never trusted man again, and it was never the same after that. So Irete Oba is an Odu that says we have to know when to leave, we have to know when to stay. The Orisha Ochosi is huge in that Odu. Apart from Orishas like Shango, Yemaya, Oya, Batala, Ochung. You know, Irete Oba, you know, speaks of, you know, the importance of interacting with nature, providing, protecting our families. Be careful with fire and electrical accidents there, and that sign the forest burned down. Don't leave candles lit. That's an Odu of entrepreneurship where the person has to leave their house to be able to make money. I believe there's a taboo. I'm trying to recall. Should Irete Oba have the coins in their pocket or not? There's something there like that, I recall. Another thing, one of the biggest ebos there is offering yam and honey to Eshu and then taking it to the corner. So that brings a lot of prosperity as well. The Ifa baldness, the person has to be very careful losing their hair via a chronic condition or a vitamin deficiency. And it's actually one of the reasons why Babaluaye lives outside of the house, you know. So,
all right. Anubis is amazed by your memory.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As am I. I don't know how it works.
Baba knows the way.
I guess when you like something, you know.
Yeah, here we go.
Advice for cool-headedness for a devotee with mental illness. I have borderline. Well, you know what? First and foremost, thank you for having the courage to express that. I would say we have to really look at the Hand of Ifa and the Odu there. Because, for example, like there's Odus, like in Irete Lasso, it says when the person is showing emotional or mental instability, you know, 2 roosters are offered from their head to Shango. And Ofundi has a similar abo as well. Like there's options and things like that. So if you have Hand of Ifa, let's take a look at that Odu and see how we can assist. Apart from, you know, going through therapy and your processes and doing your homework with them to make sure that, you know, we're progressing and having the best quality of life possible. Lots of strength on your journey.
All right. So that super chat, they had a question, but here it is.
Awesome.
So I found it. It's right above the green.
Rising Phoenix.
Yep.
Aburua Boye. Hello, felon community. Hello. Who is Oshun's mother? Is it highly likely to experience similar life experiences spoken in Patakis of your particular path? Absolutely. Please share about Aquaro. So, Ochung's mother, you know, it's going to be debatable. Some people are going to say it's either Oshanla or Yemu or Yembo, which are all paths feminine of Obatala. Apart from that, you may even hear Nanaburuku as well, being the mother of all the female Orishas. And then, you know, it is possible to relive things about the Patakis of the path. And Ochung Ibu Aquaro was the first woman to ever breastfeed, the first woman to ever go through postpartum depression. Apart from that, she actually had to run away from Chango and Ogun fighting over her and was saved by Ochosi. And what he did was he actually took the feathers of the quails he would hunt and he made a regal dress for her. So it's an Odu that, says the majority of our happiness comes from who we procreate with and the support they provide, and we provide them. So it's very important to have a very stable, loving, and communicative relationship with that path. Ibua paro.
Okay, let's read the one right under that. So the green.
Hello, Baba. Can you? Oh, we did that one.
Did we do it?
We spoke about it at the Obaya.
My bad. Oh wait, here we go. This one. Top.
Bendiciones. Can you speak on Irete Yekung? Irete Yekung is a great sign. It's one of the Odus where the person has to do the least to get the most spiritually. Orumila highly favors them. One of the greatest offerings to Ifa there is with gin, right? Maybe the one that's right here on the table or whatever you can get your hands on. But it brings happiness and cleansing to the person. Ate Yekung is an Odu of longevity. It says the person is going to grow, ideally into advanced age, but they need to visit temples and museums and things like that, or large buildings of spirit and culture, because that was born there. The museums, the churches, the cathedrals, the temples of Ifa. So it says that the person has to make sure that they preserve their temple, which is their own body. So leading a healthy, active lifestyle.
Okay, all right. We got another one.
Baba knows the way.
Nice. All right. Owani Ogunda advice. If you can do Ifa, do it. In Owani Dawang, it speaks of various aspects of Ifa initiation. But the most important thing there is being transparent and communicative with your partner. Because in that sign, the Bawala would leave to practice Ifa with his godbrothers, and the wife would become dubious of his fidelity. So it wasn't that he was doing anything he wasn't supposed to be, but he also wouldn't communicate well enough because he had a little bit of an ego. So understand that when we get into a relationship with somebody, we are accountable to them the same way they should be accountable to us. So you have to have patience with your partner depending on the level of trauma they may have experienced in the past. And yourself.
Okay, all right, hold on. We're getting some coming in. We got another one.
All right. Lalo. Bendiciones, Baba. Any advice for Beate, hijo de Olofing? I know I'm a broken record, but if you can do Ifa, do it. Beate is born a wo, especially with that guardian Orisha. If you want to crown it and are able to, crown it. At the bare minimum, receive Olofing in its various forms. That Odu says, unfortunately, that the child of Olofing has to be careful with the children of Shango because they entered into conflict there. Because they say that Olofing was betrayed by Shango there in the path of Obere Kuntele, right, who was the brother. And it might not have been actual betrayal. It might have been misunderstanding. But either way, there has to be transparency and communication so that there's not separation. But great Odu and great Odisha combination for sure. You can do whatever you want.
Okay. Hold on. We got another one.
Nice. Juju, many blessings to y'all both and y'all family. Always grateful for the work y'all do for the culture. We appreciate you. Be sure to provide the email so we can reach out about a gungung, friend. Definitely.
Okay, last couple ones. We got some membership ones.
All right.
Oh, well, those are just welcomes. Hold on. All right, hold on. Let's see here. Boom.
He hangs with the ancients. Bendiciones, can you speak on Irete Obe o Moshango? I was actually thinking about this Odu on the way to work today, because I actually did an ebo for one of my goddaughters who has this Odu and is a daughter of this Orisha, and I actually interacted with a brother, Bawalao, who has the same combination recently. I think Shango is the best guardian Orisha there, apart from Eshu, but Eshu's a little tricky, even though he gets away with a lot. But Shango there had a lot of high moral fiber. The biggest thing you have to be careful with in Irete Telu or Irete Obe is alcohol. Making sure that, that is under strict moderation. Because in that sign, Shango's brother, the snail, was addicted to alcohol. And, unfortunately, Obatala forced him to kill his brother because Obatala couldn't stand to see the snail being alcoholic. So it speaks of very heavy family situations. Ideally, the person should just focus on their partner and their children while they're of age, but the person has to kind of do their own thing to get ahead.
You got 118, by the way.
Very nice, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, before we wrap it up, go ahead and talk about the sponsor again, man. We got to show them some love.
Oh, man, we appreciate you guys so much, man. Odiso, Jin. I'm actually going to pray a verse from Otura Irete that speaks of liquor.
Okay, here we go.
Otura lalemo, Irete lalera, adifa fungaraniso de timun kan omolowo araniso de otio lalawomo araniso de olotio lalawomo o sebote hola lawomo araniso de omotio kan omolowo sebote hola lawomo. And what it's saying is, Otura lalemu irete lalera. Otura drinks and shouldn't go out at night. So that's good advice for everybody, right? If I was trying to protect us. But in Otura irete was where divination for Oti first manifested and identified it as a material that would bring us prosperity and happiness, right? They say that the reason we give the Orishas Oti is because there's no better time to ask somebody for something than when they're under the influence, the Orishas, right? So that's why we offer it to them, so we can be blessed and cleansed, so
all right,
stay there, my friends.
Love it. All right, we got the last one here.
Baba knows the way.
All right.
It's a $4.99 super chat. Here we go.
Love it. Baba Machado about Allah with Ireten Telu. Well, we were just talking about that. Any recommendations? I will be receiving Olokun soon. Gracias. With Ireten Telu, this is the Ifa of the snail or Igbing. You have to live the positive aspects of the Igbing. Slow, methodical, precise, observant, alert. But in the negative, you have to avoid sodium for blood pressure, alcohol addiction, disobedience with the Orisha. To be frank with you, the Charo Batala there has some of the hardest paths to walk. But if you can avoid vice, you'll be just fine. And Olokun there is a huge deity because in Ireden Telu is why Olokun goes in the Potiche, which is the sopera that kind of looks like a wave. That's actually where Olokun bought a house. So apart from the initiations you have and want to make pending, you have to purchase a home or maybe rent for a while, because with the interest rates the way they are, just make sure you have a place to stay, I think, is a better piece of advice from a business standpoint.
Okay. All right, so I messed up in the beginning.
What'd you do?
The song looped.
Oh, okay. That's all right, Phil.
I need to be able to show I need to be able to play the whole song for everybody.
All right, let's vibe.
Because they need to hear it, the whole thing in its entirety, before we get out of here.
For sure.
But before we get out of here, though, do we have any future updates for the channel? What's going on with you guys? Any updates like that?
Man, I will say we got more classes coming out. The membership program is rolling. We got a bunch of great stuff coming out that I don't want to take the cloth off yet, but literature and classes possibly on songs and maybe even an album that you guys have been asking for. I'll do what I can. But a lot of great things on the horizon for sure. So just stay tuned. Tell somebody about us. We're almost at 150,000 subscribers, guys. I look at the app and I can't even believe it. It's and the way things are functioning with the business and whatnot. It's really incredible. So just very appreciative, man. Shout out to all my members. Shout out to everybody watching and all the subscribers in general. And we really appreciate y'all. Sincerely, y'all are family. Number love for you.
All right, guys, here we go. I want you guys to all vibe with the song. The song is called Baba Knows the Way. So we should put it on a shirt, though, right?
Yeah, no, we're gonna get teed up.
All right, here we go. So vibe out, guys, and we'll catch you later. See ya.
Baba knows the way.
I'm gonna leave you on camera for a little bit to vibe out.
My man.
Joseph Baba Ifa. Baba knows the way. We follow the signs. He walks with the Orisha through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients. He honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come from. Born in the land where the spirits rise, high quietly a sun and ancestral skies. He heard the voice of Orunmila call and stepped in the rhythm, answering all. He studied the Odu, each sacred word. He speaks what our inner spirit has heard, guiding the lost, the seeker, the soul. Through Ifa's truth, we all become whole. Holy baby,
Like with the Ciroc.
Yeah.
Baba Joseph showed the path today.
All right.
Baba knows the way, we follow the signs. He walks with the Orisha through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients, he honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come from. He lights the flame of our father's rights, shows us how to walk with sacred sight. From Odu Ifa to the palm of faith, he teaches the power to elevate. This is your birthright, don't you forget. The Orisha call you, your path is set. With Baba Ifa, the veil is torn. You'll rise like the sun, newly reborn. Baba knows the way, we follow the signs. He walks with the Orisha through sacred lines. Raise your head high, speak your name true. The ancestors rise, they walk with you.